Hello everyone, good afternoon. Yes guys, please acknowledge if I'm completely audible and my screen is visible. Very good afternoon, Abhishek. Good afternoon, Amit. Okay, so I see students are still joining the session. We'll be starting with the session within like next 5 minutes, right? Let everyone join the session first, then we'll start with it. From this topic 2B. All right, Priyanshu. And those who were added yesterday only, guys, are you able to see class notes in this particular Teams? Can you please tell me? Are you able to view the previous recordings and the class notes? Yes? Okay, Consum. I believe all 21 notes, the PDF files which I have uploaded, the self-study notes are visible to each one of you, right? So that you can access those documents. These are the same PDFs which I'm sharing on screen. Chirayu Kapoor, you are in the class since the very first day, 15th of June. Are you still unaware where the notes are? But it's there in the file section. Under the file section, there is class materials and then security study notes. Please check once. These notes must be visible to each one of you who are there in the class. Very good afternoon, guys. Yuvraj Aditya, then what can I do in this? You can view those two classes recordings. I think that would help. Please don't miss classes unless until it's very urgent. Uh, okay, Abhishek. Why these are not? These must be visible. Are you checking under the class material, security study notes? Yuvraj Aditya, regarding this, you may contact the coordinator because he's looking after the attendance. We are submitting the daily attendance to him only. So, ऐसा कोई concern था, then you should have called me. Notes are not visible, though these notes were visible earlier as well. Okay, let me upload under the recording section. Just a minute. Can you please check once again under the file section, security study notes, if those are now available to you all? Check again, guys. There must be 21 PDFs under this particular folder, security study notes. Now it's visible. And okay, it's with the name Security Study Notes, not CompTIA Security Plus or anything like that. Security Study Notes. Now visible? Okay. So you may access notes from there. Okay. These are the PDF files. You may download it in your this local storage. And those who have joined yesterday, as I told you guys yesterday only that we are done with lesson one and part A of this lesson two. So we are going to continue with this part B of lesson two today. Simran, that is probably because the assignment was released before you were added in the teams, right? Maybe because of that, you are not able to access that. And don't worry about that. The assignment was non-graded. I'll share the questions with you all, like whatever the questions were given. I believe you are there in the WhatsApp group. I'll share those 10 questions in there only, so that you can practice those questions and so on. Those are just basic questions. I believe you are pretty much aware of those questions, matlab, because you are there in the security information security batch. So okay, great. So let's wait for 2 minutes more, then we'll start at exact 12:10. All right, guys. So I believe my screen is visible to each one of you. Can you please acknowledge? Are you all able to check my screen? Perfect. So now we are going to continue with this topic regarding this threat intelligence sources. We are pretty aware of what is threat, what are the different threat agents or the threat actors are, right? So here we'll be explaining different threat actors, what could be a different threat actors, vectors, and the intelligence sources. Talking about the intelligence sources, that could be the sources from where we can gather various information, the new information about the threats which may affect our organization, right? So here we have this threat research sources. Now, what exactly is threat research sources? Before moving forward with this, now see, as a security professional, uh, it's it's required you must continually refresh and expand your knowledge of both security technologies and practices and various adversary tactics and techniques, right? Because every day the technology is doing advancements, so as a security professional you have to be updated in the same. So you have to refresh, expand your knowledge of both security technologies, various practices which need to be followed, and the adversary tactics and techniques which are there a part of it. So, as well as staying up to date on a personal level, you will also need to select and deploy threat intelligence platforms from where you will be able to receive the fresh knowledge about the various threats which are actually affecting the organization around the world. So, you need to be able to identify and evaluate the sources of threat intelligence from where you will be able to get the knowledge about various threats and the research as well to use these resources to enhance security controls. When you will be able to identify, evaluate the various threat intelligence, and then only you will be able to take out some preventive and corrective measures in the organization, right? So this will further help you to enhance the security controls which you already have implemented in your organization. So this is something which we are going to study about threat research sources, because research is a part from where you will be continuously gathering fresh information about various threats. Okay, guys. So regarding threat research sources, now threat research, uh, this term I feel this is self-explanatory term. If we talk about threat research, so we are performing research on a particular domain, that is in a particular field, that is threat. So this is something which is counterintelligence, gathering some effort in which security companies, the researchers, they attempt to discover the tactics, techniques, and various procedures of modern cyber adversaries. So there are many companies as well as the academic institutions which are engaged in primary cyber security research, right? So security solution providers with firewall, anti-malware platforms, they derive a lot of data from their own customers network. So they are actually gathering information from the customers network only, and regarding those information, the research which they are performing, they are enhancing their security controls in the same manner. So as they assist customers with cyber security operations, so they are now able to analyze, publicize various tactics, various techniques, various procedures, and their indicators as well. So these organizations, they also operate honeynets to try to observe how hackers interact with vulnerable systems. So if we talk about this threat research sources, so one part is counterintelligence, right? So this is all about gathering effort in which security companies, researchers, they are attempting to discover this. This is TTPs, as in the tactics, techniques, and procedures. Now, what are the different threat research sources? One is the academic research, one is the analysis of attacks on customer system. But then we have honeypots, honeynets, then we have darknets and dark web. Regarding honeypots, honeynets, darkpots, and darknets, now see, uh, Have you ever heard of dark web? Any one of you? Okay, I know who all are saying yes. This is the primary source of threat intelligence, which is dark web. Now, resources on the internet that are distributed between anonymized this nodes protected from some general access by multiple layers of encrypting and routing is deep web, which is a part of this world wide web. And this is not indexed by a search engine. So this includes pages that require registration, pages that block search indexing, some kind of unlinked pages, or we can say pages with some non-standard DNS, or the content which is encoded in a non-standard manner. So within the deep web, we there are areas that are deliberately concealed from regular browser access. So regarding the darknet, this is a network which is established as an overlay to internet infrastructure by software, like someone just messaged like this onion. So such as the onion router, which can be referred as TOR. There is freenet or I2P. So that acts to anonymize the usage and prevent a third party from knowing about the existence of the network or analyzing any activity which is taking place over the network. So this will be preventing the logging of the activity basically. The onion routing, for instance, use multiple layers of encryption and that relays between the nodes to achieve the anonymity. So then we have dark web, the different sites, the contents, the services which are accessible only over darknet. So those are dark web. So while there are like dark web search engines, many sites are hidden from them. Access to dark web site via its URL is often available via this word of mouth bulletin boards. Are you all able to check this picture which is attached on this particular slide? Hannah, this picture is visible. So regarding this picture, I would like to tell you that this is using this TOR, the onion router browser to view this Alpha Bay market. Now it is closed by law enforcement, but this particular picture screenshot was used with permission from Security Onion. So this was shared by CompTIA's, like in this CompTIA's security notes only. So they must have taken some permission from the Security Onion, and this screenshot is shared over here. Now investigating these dark web sites, talking about the dark web sites in the message boards, that's a valuable source of counterintelligence. The anonymity of this dark web services that has made it easy for the investigators who are investigating on these sites to infiltrate the forums and the web stores that have been set up to exchange some stolen data or some hacking tools, because everything like this is happening over here and on the dark websites. So when adversaries react to this, they are setting up some new networks, way of identifying the law enforcement infiltration. Consequently, these darknets, dark web represent a continually shifting landscape. So it's not particularly considered safe to access those sites and so on. Is it clear to each one of you regarding this particular slide? Are you now able to understand the threat intelligence, threat research sources? What are the different sources from where the threat research may happen? Everyone, please acknowledge. Okay. Okay, now then we have this threat intelligence providers. Now, we all understand threat intelligence and we know the meaning of providers as well, right? So, who all are, a part of this, so providing this threat intelligence? So, talking about the outputs of primary research, which is undertaken by the security solution providers or the academics, that there can be three main forms of the same. Here it is written like coming to the points which are described on the slide, narrative analysis and commentary. Then we have reputation, threat data feeds, which is basically cyber threat intelligence. We can refer threat intelligence as cyber threat intelligence as well. There are various platforms, fields, and OSINT as reconnaissance and monitoring. Now, see, there are talking about the primary research which are undertaken by the security solution providers or who are providing security solutions to the organization, or various academics who are performing research, threat research. There can be three forms. One is the behavioral threat research, and then we can have reputational threat intelligence. Then we have threat data as well. Now, behavioral threat research, what could be there in that? So it's all about narrative commentary describing some examples of attacks and the various techniques and procedures which are gathered through primary research sources. Now, how we can analyze those uh, techniques and the procedures which we have gathered from the primary research sources from where we have actually performed the threat research, how we'll be able to comment on those as per their behavior. So behavioral threat research is all about it. Then talking about the reputational threat intelligence, which is basically block list of known threat sources. The known threat sources could be the malware signatures or the IP address range, various IP address ranges which are identified as or various DNS domains. So the list of IP addresses, the domains which are associated with some malicious behavior, है ना? Depending upon their malicious behavior, which has already come into the observation to the organization, or there could be signatures of known file-based malware. So that's how they have built their reputation that they are malicious. They have been classified as malicious. So they can be, set into the block list of known threat sources. Like there could be various malware signatures, IP address ranges, and DNS domains which are associated with some malicious behavior. So this is how they have built their reputation, and this is the second form, reputational threat intelligence. Then we have threat data. Now computer data that can correlate events observed on the customer's own networks and the logs with known TTP and the threat actor indicators. How many of you are aware of threat actors? Now, narrative analysis and commentary is all about the behavioral threat research. The second part, reputation is all about reputational threat intelligence is all about the various IP addresses domains which are listed in malicious behavior or the malware signatures. Then we have threat data feeds. Now the computer data that can correlate events. Now on the as per the data which is there in the computer, now how this particular data which is available with us can correlate with the events which has been observed on a customer's own network or the logs with known some techniques and procedures or some kind of threat actor indicators. Like this particular data indicates that this is something activity which is being performed by a threat actor and so on. So this can also provide this threat intelligence to the security professional or the academics who are working on it. What are threat actors, guys? Please tell me. Are you clear with these 2 points of threat intelligence providers from where we are getting the threat intelligence? We are getting the information about the various threats which can impact the organization in one or another way. Yes, no, maybe. Maybe who performs the attacks? Okay, what else, Amit? Anyone else who would like to comment on threat actors? Malicious attacker. Okay. Someone in an organization who causes attacks on the organization digitally. Okay. There could be someone who is not part of the organization as well, because we are not talking about insider threat actor. There could be outsider one also. Cyber criminals, anyone who has potential to impact our security. Yes, guys. Now, see, threat is, we can say threat is the potential for an entity to exercise a vulnerability to breach the security. Anyone who uses computer and internet to do malicious attacks. Yes. So, so any person or the entity which is responsible for an event that has been identified as the security incident or the risk. कोई भी ऐसा इंसिडेंट होता है, कोई भी ऐसा इवेंट ऑब्जर्व होता है अगर, जो हमारी सिक्योरिटी ब्रीच करवा सकता है या फिर कोई एक रिस्क फैक्टर राइज कर देता है, सो दैट इज बेसिकली द थ्रेट एक्टर, एंड दैट कुड बी एनी एंटिटी फ्रॉम वेयर द थ्रेट दे कैन एक्ट एज अ थ्रेट एक्टर. कोई पर्सन भी हो सकता है ऐसी एक्टिविटी परफॉर्म करने वाला, एंड दैट पर्सन, पर्टिकुलर एंटिटी और द पर्सन कुड बी अ पार्ट ऑफ द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एज वेल एज that particular person or the entity may not be the part of the organization, right? Okay, guys, so are you clear with these 2 points? The first 2 points, which are listed on the screen, the narrative analysis and commentary, that is all about the behavioral threat research, how on the basis of behavior threat research is being performed, and these it is actually providing intelligence, threat intelligence to the security professional, the security solution provider, or the academics. Then next we have this reputational one. It's all about like how they have built their reputation, the various IP addresses जो observe हो चुके हैं malicious behavior के लिए, domains जो list हो चुके हैं malicious behavior के लिए, या फिर जो malware signatures हैं, तो जो ये different reputational threat intelligence का part हो सकता है. And then we have threat data. Is it clear to each one of you, so that we can switch to the next uh, point, which is about platforms and feeds? Okay, great. Now see, here we discussed about threat data. Now that can be packed as feeds that integrate with the security information or some kind of event management platform. The data which is there that can that integrate with some security information and event management platform, basically SIEM. Okay. Uh, have you ever heard of SIEM, Security Information and Event Management? So this is basically SIEM provides the organization with the knowledge how we can perform the analysis and detect the threats in future. Like what kind of security information do we have? How we can manage the different security events which are happening, the incidents which we talk about, which may lead to the security breach. So it's all about security information and event management. How we can have knowledge about the security information event management through the threat data only, like from the task, the events which has already been observed, what kind of steps we have taken, and in future what improvements can be done so that such kind of we can avoid such kind of events and so on, right? So these kind of threat data, the feeds which we are talking about, they are usually described as cyber threat intelligence. The points which the two of the points in the beginning of the slide which we had discussed, it's all about CTI, cyber threat intelligence. Now if someone asks you what is cyber threat intelligence, what will you say? We are aware of threat, we are aware of threat intelligence, and we are pretty aware of the term cyber. So how we can explain cyber threat intelligence, CTI? What all could be there in CTI? What kind of how we can define CTI, cyber threat intelligence, on and all, by including all these steps which could be there uh, in performing this. Yes, using the threat data to analyze the threat and prevent them. Yes. And there could be various different sources from where we are gathering the threat intelligence, right? Threat intelligence is something we are getting information about the various threats from the various different sources, as we discussed. And an area of cybersecurity that focuses on the collection, analysis of information about current and potential attacks. Okay, considered. ये पहले आप कंट्रोल वी करने लगे थे सागर और गलती से सिर्फ वी दबा दिया था फिर आपने सारा पेस्ट कर दिया. Did that happen with you, Sagar Vashisht? Anyone? Guys, please give a try so that you can also. Uh, पता था मुझे सागर. Let me know what in which direction you exactly are thinking so that we can come up to the same point at all. है ना? Share your views on the same. I'm asking about CTI, which is Cyber Threat Intelligence. Yes, students of second year and third year, any knowledge, any information about CTI? And I believe the third year students who have been added in the teams, all are of information security batch, है ना? And the rest all people who are there in the session, they are from AIML batch. So we have two categories, two different branches studying together. Guys, are you typing? Please tell me. Yes, yesterday itself they were added, Sagar. Yesterday only. Few of the students have joined who are now promoted to third year. Guys, at least something. Yes, no, maybe. Do you have any knowledge, any idea? If you get this term heard, like CTI, when you hear this term, cyber threat intelligence, what came up to your mind? What could be there in it? Yes, collecting, then processing and analyzing a threat to evaluate its impact or the behavior. Yes, correct. Maybe an organization working on cyber threats. There are cyber security professionals, security professionals who are working on it, so that they can have fresh knowledge. As I told in the very beginning of this today's session, that they should have the updated knowledge about the various threats, so that they can design their security solutions in that manner. A soft critical. Now, see, cyber threat intelligence. It is basically a process. When we have to define the CTI, so this is a process. Process of what? Various steps could be there. When we say that it's a process, then there will be various steps in the same, right? So the process of investigating. Firstly, they have to investigate the scenario, collecting, analyzing, and then disseminating the information about the emerging threats and various threat sources from where threats can actually arise in any part of the organization. So it's all about cyber threat intelligence. So there could be various data है ना, डेटा से हम सारा जो है इन्वेस्टिगेट करेंगे, कलेक्ट करेंगे, एनालिसिस करेंगे, जो भी हमारी इंफॉर्मेशन है उसे डिसेमिनेट करेंगे, जो भी इमर्जिंग थ्रेड्स हैं या थ्रेड सोर्सेज हैं. सो द डेटा ऑन इट्स ओन इज नॉट अ कंप्लीट सिक्योरिटी सॉल्यूशन. हाउएवर, अगर आपके पास डेटा है, you cannot say you have the complete security solution. So it can be used to understand the motive of the attack as well as design counters for the same. Yes, correct, Soham. When we are able to investigate, collect, analyze, and perform various activities on the threads, so we'll be able to understand what was the motive of the attack in some manner, and what could be the possibility, like from where it has actually got the origin. The thread sources kya rahe hain. And in the similar manner, we can design some counters for the same. These various security solutions or security policies may be defined or may be designed by keeping those emerging threats and threat sources in mind. Correct? So the data on its own, if we have data, can we say कि this is the complete security solution? No, it's not. So to produce some actionable intelligence, the threat must the threat data that we have must be correlated with some observed data from computer networks. What kind of data you have observed from the computer networks? By correlating that particular data, we can produce some actionable intelligence on the same, right? So this type of analysis is often offered by this AI, artificial intelligence. AI समझते हैं ना सब. AI हम मिलके बच्चे हैं. The science of creating machines with the ability to develop some problem solving and the analysis strategies without significant human direction or intervention. So this is a feature which is being offered by this SIEM as well. If we have SIEM platform, so this is something which is uh, you know uh, is a feature of SIEM only. So there is a platform, SIEM, and the feeds which we are talking about is the thread data feeds. Yes, Sagar, please ask. So basically, they have put this SIEM on some automation कि जो data feed करेंगे उसके according वो correlate कर पाएगा जो हमारे पास current data and so on. As I told you earlier, the cybersecurity expert keep them up to date through various threats research sources. As we studied on the very first slide of today's session, there are various threat research sources. Research they have to carry forward in a regular manner. So research is the important part of the same. See, here we discussed about the threat research sources from where they will be getting the up-to-date information about the same. And then we move to the threat intelligence providers. Now, talking about the intelligence platforms and feeds, both platforms and feeds, they are supplied as one of the four different commercial models. Now, the four different commercial models are described over here only. Let's discuss about the very first model, which is closed or proprietary. Now, the threat research and the cyber threat intelligence data that is made available as a paid subscription to a commercial threat intelligence platform. So the security solution provider, they also make the most valuable research available early to the platform subscribers in the form of blogs, in the form of some white papers or some kind of webinars. And there are various platforms which may include, let me share those platforms with you all in the chat box. Just a minute. From where this closed or the proprietary, model may work. Now, the closed proprietary model, basically it means that the threat research and the CTI data, which is available as a paid subscription, it is in a closed manner. It's not openly available to all. So paid subscription to some commercial threat intelligence platform only. So the security solution providers, they can also make some most valuable research via, there are some available early to the platform subscribers in the form of there are various blogs, there are various white papers or the webinars. So talking about the various platforms, here we have this. Yes, there is actually a plenty of information which is available online. They just need to identify which information is required. जब भी आप research करते हो तो आप उस according ही चलते हो जिस domain में आपको information collect करनी है. Just a second, I'm typing in the chat box. Regarding the first part, the closed and proprietary one, please check. So these are the various examples which may include this IBMX Force Exchange, then Mandiant, then Recorded Future. So from here, the subscribers may get the information in the form of blogs, white papers, or the webinars. The next one we have is vendor websites. Now, this is the proprietary that threat intelligence is not always provided at cost. So, all types of security, hardware, software vendors, they make huge amount of threat research available via their website. जो भी उन्होंने threat research की है, तो regarding all type of security, hardware, software vendors, जिन्होंने भी की है, so they will make it available via their websites as a general benefit to their customers. So one of the example is Microsoft Security Intelligence Blog. Microsoft provide करते हैं अपनी जो threat intelligence जो भी वो perform करते हैं. So up to some extent, like so they can provide information to their customers as well. So I hope this is accessible, this particular link. So it's all about Microsoft Security Intelligence. So the security research, the threat intelligence from their global network of security experts. So how it is being conducted. So they are not taking any penny from any of the users. So they are the vendor websites, right? Then we have public or private information sharing centers. Now, in many critical industries, there is information sharing and analysis centers, which is basically can referred as ISAC, Information Sharing and Analysis Centers. These are the sources. Yes, the Microsoft Security Intelligence blog is available for everyone. So this is about the second point which we discussed regarding vendor websites. In the first part, it's all about the proprietary, which are making their subscribers only. They are giving paid subscription to commercial threat intelligence platform. And the third one, which I'm now telling you about, is about public or private information sharing center. So in many critical industry, we have information sharing and analysis centers. So this is a not-for-profit group set, which is for to share some sector-specific threat intelligence, some security best practices among its members. But this particular thing have been set up to share threat intelligence and as well as promote some best practices. Like, let me share the link again with you all. Guys, are you all getting the idea about the same which we are discussing in the current slide? Okay, I don't have any link for this one. So there are some sector specific resources for companies as well as agencies which are working in some critical industries like some power supply, financial market, aviation, where there is no coverage by this information and analysis center. Local industry group and association, they come together to provide some kind of mutual support, right? So there are pretty good chances that in many critical industries we have information and sharing center which is providing the information sharing and analysis center, which is providing, which is not set for some any profit group, but it is there set up to share some sector specific threat intelligence. And when we talk about sector specific, so it is all about a particular sector in which maybe we are working, and various security best practices are being provided among its members who are part of this particular center. So there are various sector specific resources for companies and the agencies which are working in critical industries. That could be power supply, that could be financial market, that could be aviation as well. So जहाँ कहीं coverage नहीं होता है ISAC का इंफॉर्मेशन शेयरिंग एंड एनालिसिस सेंटर का, सो लोकल इंडस्ट्री ग्रुप जो होते हैं या फिर जैसे प्राइवेट इंफॉर्मेशन शेयरिंग सेंटर हो गए, local industry group या association, they can provide some kind of mutual support in the same manner. Then the last point in the same we have is open source intelligence threat data sources. OSINT, open source intelligence, OSINT. It is something which is publicly available information. Plus, there are tools which are used to aggregate and search it. Now, some companies operate threat intelligence services on this open source basis. They are earning income from consultancies rather than directly from the platform or the research effort. So there are various examples for the same, like AT&T cybersecurity labs. We have malware information sharing project is there. Let me share this. Just a second, guys. Let me type in the chat box. If they're giving paid subscription, target hackers can also question how or how does not have the edge with them, like they must know. But now that's all depend upon how exactly the cybersecurity professionals are working, in which regards they are, they are actually making out these security solutions for the same. और ब्लैक हेड हैकर्स वो तो अपनी इंफॉर्मेशन अप टू डेट रखेंगे, वो तो उनकी भी डिफरेंट सोर्सेज होते हैं फ्रॉम वेयर दे गेट द टूल्स द टेक्निक्स फॉर द हैकिंग. एंड ब्लैक हैट जो होते हैं वो अपना कोड खुद भी लिखते हैं regarding if they want to particularly target any system or anything like that. So these are the challenges. Black hat hackers क्या coders नहीं होते. So that is why it's always said, in order to provide the best security solution, we just don't need to think in the form of defense, but we should also think how the attacker or hacker may think, है ना, कि उनके नजरिए से सोच के ही आगे फर्दर सिक्योरिटी सॉल्यूशंस जो है डिजाइन करने पड़ते हैं, right? If you can think like an attacker or hacker, then only you can provide the best security to the organization. So that is why we have white hat hackers, ethical hackers are there who are actually having the authorized access to the system and can perform the penetration testing on the same, try to exploit the vulnerabilities, and then take out the, cover those patches which are the loopholes which are present in the networks of the system. So here we are referring to the open source research providers, OSINT, that can mean any intelligence derived from publicly available information, because this is something which is open source intelligence, and the name itself defined that it's publicly available information. So this is a common reconnaissance technique where the attacker harvests domains and various IP address ranges, employees, and other data that will assist in identifying the attack vectors as well. So the company should also monitor public networks for a sign of attack planning. or the breaches, the most commercial provider offer such kind of monitoring services that may include some dark web sources as well. So this is all about the last point which we discussed regarding OSINT as reconnaissance and monitoring. So is it clear to each one of you the current slide regarding threat intelligence providers? Please acknowledge. So we are basically focusing on various threat research sources regarding the threat intelligence from where we can gather the fresh information regarding the various adverse threats and which are happening, right, arising around the world. So please acknowledge if it's clear to each one of you. I have received acknowledgement just from 3 people and two of them are from third year. Guys, are you all clear? And and do ask me if you feel like I'm using any jargons or the technical terms so that I can explain you those terms. That is why initially the very first lecture which we had in this particular institutional training, I told you about the various terms which may be used. Okay. If you're clear till now, then can someone please tell me what is reputation data? What is reputation data? Guys, let me type in the chat box only. What is reputation data? And please allow me a minute or two till the time you can type in your answers in the chat box. Okay, data that is related to upholding the reputation of company or organization. Okay, anyone else who would like to give a try? This is something which we have studied in the previous slides only today itself. Okay, Chirayu. Let me give you a hint. We studied about this reputational data, reputational threat intelligence on the slide threat intelligence providers. Like there are various data which can be classified on the basis of behavior, on the basis of reputation, and there is threat data as well. So what exactly is reputation data? The data a customer interest to an organization. Okay, so this is Soham basically could be the scenario which can, further affect the reputation of the organization in a negative manner if the data gets leaked out or something like that. Reputation data is something, there is a defined block list of known threat sources. There could be malware signatures, there could be various IP address ranges, and the DNS domains. So this can be referred as reputational threat intelligence through the reputation of the different IP addresses, the DNS domains or the signatures which they have built actually in the market, how they are being identified in the same manner. Is it clear now? It can also referred as reputational threat intelligence. So talking about threat intelligence on the basis of the reputation, how we can classify the data. So that's all on the basis of the block list of known threat sources and the malware signatures, IP address ranges, and the DNS domains. Is it clear to each one of you now? Yes, no, maybe. Okay. Now, coming to the next slide, we have different threat intelligence research sources available with us as well. Now, talking about the research on in this particular field, the threat intelligence, what could be the different sources available for this research manner, threat intelligence research? One is the academic journals, then we have conferences, then we have requests for comments, and then at last we have social media. Now, see, there are plenty of other sources available for the best practices advice and the new research other than the threat intelligence platforms, the platforms which we just have discussed in the previous slide. Now, those are one is the academic journals. Uh, you must have heard of the research papers, the conferences which are being conducted, the papers which are being published in the journals. Have you ever heard of? जो भी रिसर्च होती है अराउंड द वर्ल्ड वो कहाँ पब्लिश होती है इन द फॉर्म ऑफ जर्नल्स और इन वेरियस कॉन्फ्रेंसेस राइट. So regarding academic journals, So they are basically the results from the academic researchers. There are academic researchers, or we can say not for profit trade bodies or the associations such as IEEE, the papers which are published in the journals. IEEE का नाम तो सबने सुना होगा ना? It is one of the famous journal जो international conferences conduct करते हैं. So access to these papers is usually subscription based. कभी भी आप IEEE की साइट पे जाओगे, कोई पेपर सर्च करोगे, the whole of the paper might not be available because this is something subscription based है वो, है ना? You must have an account, कोई subscription होनी चाहिए उनकी साइट पे or something like that. So one free source is ARXIV preprint repository. Let me share the link with you. So this is one of the free source. So the preprints are papers that have not been published or peer reviewed. well preprint है, अभी प्रिंट होने से पहले के वो पेपर्स है जो कि पब्लिश नहीं हुए या फिर peer reviewed अभी नहीं हुए, उनका रिव्यू नहीं हुआ है, तो वो सब वहां पे, not all but yeah, majority can be reviewed from here. You can have a look. So from the academic journals, so this is considered as one of the source from where we can gather the threat intelligence research, right? So then we have conferences. Now there are security conferences which are being hosted, sponsored by various institutions, and from these conferences, one will get the opportunity for the presentations on the latest threats and technologies. Conferences में बहुत से टॉपिक्स ऐसे डिलीवर किए जाते हैं, है ना? डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द कॉन्फ्रेंस के नाम से पता चल जाता है कि किस तरह की कॉन्फ्रेंस रहेगी, किस तरह के पेपर्स इसमें शेयर किए जाएंगे, किस तरह की प्रेजेंटेशंस होंगी. सो वन विल गेट द आइडिया अबाउट द लेटेस्ट थ्रेड्स एंड द टेक्नोलॉजीज एज वेल. एंड एज वी नो दैट कॉन्फ्रेंसेस जो भी होती हैं वो किसी इंस्टीट्यूट से ही होस्ट की जाती हैं, स्पॉन्सर की जाती हैं, है ना? अभी रिसेंटली लॉ कॉन्फ्रेंस हुई थी CU में, इफ यू हैव एनी आइडिया अबाउट इट. तो उसमें भी बहुत सी प्रेजेंटेशंस थी, बहुत से ऐसे टॉपिक्स डिस्कस किए गए होंगे ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ द in this particular field, law only, है ना? Then we have request for comments, which is basically RFC. Now when a new technology is accepted as a web standard, it is published as an RFC by this W3C. So there are also informational RFCs, requests for comments, which are covering many security considerations and the best practices as well. So it's all about, let me share the link of the same. So it's all about so when there is new technology which is accepted as web standard, it is published as an RFC. So everything which is covering between about the security consideration and best practices can be reviewed over here. Yes. Then we have social media. Social media तो है ही एक ऐसा, मतलब वहां पे हमें इतना इतना डेटा अवेलेबल है, सब कुछ अवेलेबल है, आप जो भी देखना चाहो. So companies, individual researchers, practitioners, they write some informative blogs with the social media feeds. If you have subscribed or liked various pages which are actually posting the data, this such kind of blogs or the media feeds on their platforms, then you will get the enough knowledge about the same. So there are too many useful blog and discussion sources to include here, but the list is curated by the Digital Guardian. Let me share the Digital Guardian link with you all, so that that can be a good starting point of the same, है ना? सोशल मीडिया पे आपको बहुत कुछ ऐसा मिल जाएगा. So there is one thing which has covered the top 15 for sec blogs you should be reading in 2019. It's the old blog of 2019, so you can search out for the new blogs as well. 2022 में कैसे रहे हैं? So there are plenty of information available online. If you just need to search for the same, you know. So it's all about the different other threat intelligence research sources. One is the academic journals, then we have conferences, then we have requests for comments, and at last we have social media. Last but not the least. Is it clear to each one of you now? Then we'll be continuing with the next topic. Yes? Okay, before moving to the next slide, in the previous slides, we have studied about TTP. Guys, what is TTP? I will switch to the next slide when you will answer this question. What is TTP? Because in the next slide itself, it's given. So TTP क्या होता है? Yes, tactics, techniques, and procedures. Correct. So we have tactics, techniques, and procedures, as well as IOC, which is indicators of compromise. Now we'll be studying about various tactics, techniques, and procedures, and the indicators of compromise in this particular slide. So talking about tactics, techniques, and procedures. Now, what exactly is tactic, techniques, and procedures? So this is basically, we can say it's an analysis of historical cyber attacks and adversary actions. है ना? किस तरह के tactics, techniques या procedures रहे हैं on the basis of the historical cyber attacks and the various adversary actions which has been taken. So this is something, a generalized statement of adversary behavior. किस तरह का threat adversary का behavior रहता है? So the term, this particular term TTP categorizes behaviors in terms of campaign strategy and approach. किस तरह की campaign की strategy या approach रही है? So this is basically tactics हो गए, किस तरह की strategy approach है, क्या tactics रहे हैं. Then generalize the attack vectors. किस तरह के पाथ से उन्होंने अटैक किया है, किस तरह की टेक्निक उन्होंने फॉलो की है. So that is all about generalized attack vectors. And at last we have specific intrusion tools and methods, what kind of procedures they have followed. So the specific intrusion tools and methods. So this particular TTP, so this particular analysis is all about is of analysis of the historical cyber attacks and the various adversary actions which has been taken. And the next term that we have in it is indicator of compromise, which is basically IOC. So here in the techniques procedure, we have studied about the generalized statement of adversary behavior. किस तरह का generalized उनका behavior रहा है state. It's all about the generalized statement of adversary behavior. So it's all about the analysis of historical cyber attacks and adversary actions. और जो ये तीन terms इसमें use हुई हैं, first is for tactics, then we have techniques, then we have procedures. Now, tactics is all about campaign strategy and approach. Technique is all about generalized attack vectors, and procedures are all about specific inclusion tools and methods. Coming to the this indicator of compromise, IOC. What exactly we have? So IOC is a sign that an asset or the network has been attacked or is currently under attack. क्या इंडिकेटर है कि कोई हमारी सिक्योरिटी कॉम्प्रोमाइज हो रही है ना. कॉम्प्रोमाइज का मतलब क्या है गाइस? व्हाट एग्जैक्टली डू यू अंडरस्टैंड बाय द टर्म कॉम्प्रोमाइज? नाउ इंडिकेटर इज अ साइन. इंडिकेटर का मतलब तो साइन होता है ना, कि किस किस साइन से हमें पता चला दैट आवर एसेट और द नेटवर्क वो अटैक हो गया है या फिर इट इज करंटली अंडर अटैक. कॉम्प्रोमाइज का मतलब क्या हुआ इसमें? breached or something when it is put in a bad condition, है ना? Which is affecting in a negative manner, right? So talking about indicator of compromise, so this is basically a sign किससे indicate होगा हमें that an asset or the network which we are talking about has been attacked or is under any attack. So this is a residual sign that an asset or network has been successfully attacked or is continuing to be attacked. किसी तरीके से वो अभी attack हो रहा है. So this is something specific evidence of intrusion, है ना? So we can consider it as like a TTP है हमारे पास, है ना? An IOC is an evidence of a TTP. Evidence of TTP in a sense that TTP describes what and how an adversary acts. कैसे आपकी एडवर्सरी क्या है और वो कैसे एक्ट करती है. टीटीपी ये डिफाइन कर देता है सारा. और इंडिकेटर क्या डिस्क्राइब करता है, हाउ टू रिकॉग्नाइज व्हाट दोज एक्शंस माइट लुक लाइक. कैसे आइडेंटिफाई होगा, कैसे वो इंडिकेट होगा, किस तरह का साइन होगा कि हमारी जो जो है उनके उनके एक्शंस का मतलब क्या है, जो भी उस पे अटैक परफॉर्म हो रहा है. ठीक है. I believe you are pretty clear with the terms which we are discussing right now. Yes, guys? Are you aware of the three terms which are being used in TTP? One is tactics, then we have techniques, and then procedures. And what is the meaning of IOC, indicator of compromise? So as there are many different targets, vectors of an attack, बहुत अलग अलग targets हो सकते हैं attack के, बहुत अलग अलग techniques या उनके way out हो सकते हैं जिस तरह से वो attack करेंगे. So two, there are many different potentials IOC. काफी different potential IOC हो सकते हैं. So किस तरह के IOC encounter हो सकते हैं if there is any unauthorized software and files, if there is any kind of suspicious email, if there is any kind of suspicious registry or file system changes, ठीक है, or some unknown port is observed, or protocol usage is observed, unknown protocol usage, some excessive bandwidth usage, or some kind of service disruption, suspicious unauthorized account usage. So these are the various indicators. These could be the various indicators that you may encounter when we are talking about IOC. ठीक है. So an IOC can be defined and objectively identifiable. Like if there is any malware signature, then that can be easily identified कि indicator है हमारे compromise का. But often IOC can only be described with confidence via some correlation of many data points. Now, how exactly we are correlating the different data points, individual data points which are there. So this actually helps in identifying the compromise. So because these IOC are often identified through patterns of some anomalous activities rather than single event, so they can be open to interpretation, or therefore they could be slow to the diagnose. So consequently, threat intelligence platforms, they use AI backed analysis to speed up the detection without overwhelming any analyst time with false positives. So AI is the being AI backed analysis is being used so that there could be various data that can be fed into it, and there can be automation systems so that the intrusion can be detected in a prior manner before it can actually impact the system. So strictly speaking, so an IOC is basically an evidence of an attack that was successful, है ना. IOC इंडिकेटर ऑफ कॉम्प्रोमाइज क्या हुआ, एक ऐसा एविडेंस हुआ अटैक का जो सक्सेसफुल हो गया. सो द टर्म इंडिकेटर ऑफ अटैक, IOA, which is used over here, is sometimes also used for the evidence of an intrusion attempt in progress. किस तरह का intrusion attempt progress में है, so that can be indicator of attack. Is it clear to everyone out there? So are you all clear with this tactics, techniques, and procedures and the indicators of compromise? What exactly is there in TTP and IOC? Okay, great. The first point in IOC, it's all about specific evidence of inclusion. Now, IOC is indicator of compromise, and now indicator of compromise in the sense how it is, uh, what kind of sign we are getting that our asset or the network has been attacked or is currently under attack. So this is something which is providing us a specific evidence. So it is indicating, it is giving us a sign, a residual sign that this is the specific evidence which is being provided to us that there is kind of intrusion activity which has been observed. And when we talk about intrusion activity, it is basically being referring to some kind of attack. Is it clear to you, Adishankar? And Sagar, regarding tactics. Now see, here it is written. Now, TTP, as I told you, it's all about the analysis of historical cyber attacks and adverse reaction. What kind of attacks which has happened in the past and what kind of adverse reactions which has been taken already, right? So how we can perform the analysis on that. So this is basically a generalized statement of adversary behavior, what kind of behavior which has been observed already and how they have dealt with such kind of it. So tactics, the term which is being used over here, it's all about the strategy and approach. What kind of strategy, the the attack strategy or approach was, and how the attack has taken place, in which direction, which path the attack has followed. It's all about the attack vectors. And then further, the specific inclusion tools and methods, what kind of inclusion tools and methods were used for the procedures. Is it clear to you, Sagar? All right. Guys, do you have any doubt in this current slide on which we are? Anyone? Okay, Rishabh. Then we have thread data feeds. Guys, let's have 10 minutes of breather. We'll connect back at exact 1:30. Okay? Then we'll continue with this topic. Let's have 10 minutes of break. If you want to get some water, then please get it. So please have 10 minutes of breather. We'll connect back at exact 1:30 p.m. All right. All right, guys. So are you all back? Had your 10 minutes break, everyone? Okay, great. So now that we are here on this slide regarding threat data feeds. So from where exactly we are getting the feeds regarding the threat? So it's all about the CTI. So when you use CTI, the cyber threat intelligence, you subscribe to thread data feeds. Now, thread data feeds basically provide us some signatures and some kind of pattern matching rules, which are supplied to analysis platforms as an automated feed. So, the information in the thread data that can be combined with the event data from your own network or the system logs. है ना? Any analysis, आप क्या कर सकते हो? An analysis platform perform some kind of correlation to detect whether, sorry, IOC are present or not. Now, see, regarding the thread data feed, we are given some kind of signatures or some kind of pattern matching rules, which are there in order to perform the analysis on the platform as an automated feed. So, the data that you have on your system, you can combine the event data of your own network and system log and can further perform the correlation of the data available so that you can identify if there is any IOC present or not. So there are various ways that thread data feed can be implemented. In which ways we can implement the thread data feed in in our system. So the first one is about structured thread information exchange. Just a second. So STIX is about structured thread information expression. So, regarding the CTI framework, the Cyber Threat Intelligence Framework, it is designed to provide a format for this automated feed so that organization can share their CTI. So, the structured threat information expression. So, this is basically a framework. Framework for what? For analyzing the cyber security incidents, whatever the cyber security incidents are happening, so that they can analyze those. So that is being done by the structured threat information expression. So this is a part of framework which describes the standard terminology. So what this particular framework describes the standard terminology for IOC, indicator of compromise, and the ways of indicating relationship between them. Now, I believe you all are able to see the picture which is available on the slide. That's available in the right hand side of the slide. So that picture is clearly visible to each one of you so that I can further explain it. Yes. Okay. So the indicator would be further more indicating now what it indicates. There could be a campaign, there could be a threat actor as well. And when we talk about campaign, so the campaign, the tactics which are being used, so that will be further targeting the vulnerability, है ना? And the campaign may be attributed to the threat actor. So this particular structured threat information expression, this particular framework describes the standard terminology of indicator of compromise and the ways of indicating relationship between them. What could be the indicators of the compromise? There could be threat actor, there could be campaign, and how it is actually correlated to each other, what exactly the relationship they have between each other. So the indicator will be able to indicate the campaign, and the campaign which is basically targeting any of the vulnerability in the system, and the campaign which is also attributed to a threat actor, because without a threat actor it's impossible that any kind of risk or the security breach is happening. There is a threat actor attributed to it, right? So this is the particular relationship example of STIX, which is basically structured threat information expression. Is it clear to each one of you? Yes, no, maybe. Now, this STIX, it basically provides a syntax for describing the cyber threat intelligence, CTI. So, the trusted automated exchange of indicator information, which is the next part, TAXI, TAXII, trusted automated exchange of indicator information. So this is basically a protocol for supplying some kind of codified information to automate the incident detection and analysis. As the name suggests itself, trusted automated exchange of indicator information. The protocol for supplying the codified information to automate the incident detection so that the incident detection and analysis can be automated. And when we use the term automated, that means it will be further working uh, in an automated manner. So the protocol provides a mean for transmitting the CTI data between servers and clients. How the CTI data is being transmitted through, between servers and clients. For example, there's a CTI server provider that would maintain a repository of CTI data. सर्वर तो सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड करते हैं ना. सो अगर हमारे पास कोई सीटीआई सर्विस प्रोवाइडर है, सो उसके पास सीटीआई डेटा की रिपोजिटरी भी होगी. जो सब्सक्राइबर्स होंगे उस सर्विस के, दे विल बी ऑब्टेनिंग अपडेट्स टू द डेटा टू लोड इनटू द एनालिसिस टूल्स ओवर टैक्सी. तो वो हम अपने एनालिसिस टूल्स में उस डेटा को लोड करते रहेंगे सो दैट फर्दर ऑटोमेशन कैन बी अप्लाइड ऑन द सेम. सो जो डेटा, दिस डेटा कैन बी रिक्वेस्टेड बाय द क्लाइंट. सो अगर क्लाइंट कोई सर्वर से डेटा रिक्वेस्ट करता है, बेसिकली इट इज रेफरिंग टू द कलेक्शन ऑफ डेटा. वो रिक्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं, उसने डेटा कलेक्ट करना है वहां से, और डेटा जो पुश कर सकते हैं सब्सक्राइबर्स को, जो सर्वर है उसके जो सब्सक्राइबर्स होंगे उसको वो डेटा पुश कर देंगे. सो रेफर टू एज अ चैनल. So the data which is being fed at the server side, so the CTI service provider, if it is there, then that would maintain the CTI data repository, and the subscribers to the service, they will obtain the updates to the data to load into the analysis tool over taxi. So the trusted automated exchange of indicator information. So this particular protocol can be supplied some kind of codified information so that the automation of the incident detection and analysis can take place in an automated manner. Is it clear to all? So how the automation is happening? When we are feeding some amount of data to the protocol, to the tool, and further the events data, the current data can be compared and the correlation can be found, and further analysis can be performed in the same manner so that the IOC can uh, complete its work. Yes, guys. Are you all getting the idea about the first 2 points which we have discussed so far now regarding STIXC and the taxi? So STIX is basically a framework for analyzing the cybersecurity incidents. Okay. So this is a part of framework which describes some kind of standard terminology जिस पे for IOC किस terminology पे IOC काम करेगा, and what could be the indication, the ways of indicating relationship between them. And when we use this, provide this syntax for describing CTI, हम इसका automated version निकाल जो है एक हमारे पास taxi. Now, taxi is something you are clear with STIX, right? Which is a framework for analyzing cybersecurity incidents. So, this STIXC, where it is providing the syntax for describing CTI, we have taxi. Taxi में क्या है? एक protocol है, which is basically you are able to get the definition, sorry, the full form, trusted automated exchange of indicator information. Now, how you can apply this particular protocol? This is a protocol for supplying the codified information, whatever the codified information you have received about the indicator, to automate the incident detection and analysis. When we say automate incident detection and analysis, that means when we are feeding some amount of data to this particular protocol, how it will be further working in an automated manner. Automatically, it will be analyzing the incidents. Okay, so this particular incident is identified as indicator of compromise, and how it will be taking out some it will be detecting and analysis the same. And if it is safe to carry forward, then it will be proceeding with that particular incident which is taking place in the organization. So this is particularly a protocol which provide a mean for transmitting the CTI data between servers and clients. How the data is being transmitting from servers and clients. My voice is break. Is it breaking for everyone out there, or is it breaking just for Sagar Vashisht? I think it is fine because my network is stable. It's clear, है ना? Sagar, is it clear to you, बच्चे? Okay. So basically, by taking an example, I can explain it. Actually, if there is a CTI service, like for example, there is a CTI server provider, service provider, है ना? जो सर्विस प्रोवाइडर होता है, that would maintain the repository of CTI data. CTI की full form पता है सागर आपको? What is CTI, Sagar? I'm using this term again and again. What is CTI? This question is for Sagar. Sagar, please answer it. Cyber threat intelligence, है ना? So the CTI service provider would maintain a repository of CTI data. Obviously, there is a threat data for the same. So the subscribers to the service, they will obtain the regular updates to the data to load into the analysis tool over the taxi analysis tool. Now, see, this is the automated tool which is being used for the incident detection and analysis. So they will be feeding the data to loading the same data on their taxi tool, right? So this data can be requested the other way, that the client may request the data from the server. So this is basically referred to as collection. Once the data is collected, or the data is which is pushed to the subscribers, which is referred to as a channel, then further the this incident detection and analysis can be performed with this particular protocol taxi, which is basically a protocol which is for supplying codified information to automate the incident detection and analysis. So the incident detection and analysis thing is automated in this taxi protocol. Various incidents can be detected in a pure manner, and the various analysis can be performed on the same. Is it clear to you now? Yes? Okay, great. Then we have automated indicator sharing. Now, automated का मतलब तो सबको पता ही है ना? So this is AIS. So this is threat intelligence data feed operated by DHS. DHS is Department of Homeland Security. So this particular service is offered by Department of Homeland Security for the companies to participate in threat intelligence sharing. So let me share this link with you all. Now, see, this is the service which is offered by DHS, Department of Homeland Security, to the different companies so that they can participate in threat intelligence sharing. So, this is particularly aimed as ISACs, but private companies can also join. So, this indicator sharing. Automated indicator sharing is based on above 2 points which we have discussed. One is STIX standards, and then we have taxi protocols. So on the basis of these two standards and protocols, STIX and taxi, they will be sharing their indicator information all about the threat intelligence data feed which is being operated by DHS. Clear? Then we have threat maps. Now threat maps is something which is map का मतलब समझते हो ना आप सब? So threat map की बात हो रही है. So animated map which is showing different sources in the near real time. What could be the different sources of the threat in the near real time? So this is an animated graphic which basically shows the source, the target, and the type of attacks that have been detected by CTI platform. ठीक है? What could be the different threat sources? What could be the different threat targets and the type of attacks that have been detected already by CTI platform? So the security solution provider, they publish such maps showing global attacks on the customer system on this particular website. Threat map का इस वेबसाइट पे एक्सेस हो सकता है. Okay, is it clear to everyone out there? Then we have file and code repositories. So file code repositories such as we have virustotal.com. There are, just a second, फाइल या फिर कोड रिपोजिटरी की जब बात होती है हमारे यहाँ, the second last point which we are discussing, file or code repository. So virustotal.com, so this particular website holds signature of known malware code. जो भी known malware code है उनके signatures कैसे हैं, how they will be identified, the code samples derived from the live customer system, some public repository files that have been uploaded by the subscribers. So this particularly contains the information about the the signatures of the known malware code. So you can identify, you can check if there is, analyze some kind of suspicious file domains, IPs, URLs, so that you can detect any malware, other breaches. So this is something which is automatically shared with them by the security community. And whatever the links I'm posting, guys, are you also navigating on the same? I'm posting the links in reference to the points which we are discussing. So for the, okay, great. Then at last we have vulnerability, database, and feeds. Now vulnerability ka matlab, we all understand the various weaknesses of the loopholes which is present in the system or the network. So as well as analyzing some adversary tools, some behaviors. Another source of this threat intelligence is identifying the vulnerability in operating system, software application, and the firmware code. So the security researcher, they look for the vulnerabilities. They often for the regard of bug bounties offered by the vendors. So there are list of vulnerabilities which are stored in the database, and that can be referred as common vulnerabilities and exposures, CVE. Have you ever heard this term CVE, common vulnerabilities and exposures? Yes, no, maybe. Okay, no worries. CVE is basically common vulnerabilities and exposures जो commonly available हैं. So this is particularly a scheme which help us to identify the vulnerabilities which are developed by MITRE and further adopted by NIST. So this is something which is operated by MITRE. So let me paste the link over here. So common vulnerabilities and exposures can be checked from here. The information about the vulnerabilities, they are being codified as signatures, and there are various scanning scripts that can be supplied as the feed to automated vulnerability scanning software. So we have various vulnerability scanning softwares from where we can also check the CVE, common vulnerabilities and exposures from the same. Is it clear to each one of you? So that we can switch to the next slide. Yes, guys. Okay, so this is the last topic of lesson 2B regarding artificial intelligence and predictive analysis. So a topic which AI/ML students can relate to. Okay, so talking about artificial intelligence and predictive analysis, see, firstly, we have a threat data feed that doesn't produce threat intelligence automatically. So the combination of security intelligence and the CTI data that can be processed, correlated, and further analyzed to provide some actionable insights that will assist you in identifying the security problems. See, when we have this security intelligence, for example, the security intelligence will reveal the DDoS attacks that were perpetrated against your web services from a range of IP addresses. So, how it can be done by collecting the log and the network traffic data, like what kind of request has been received in a bulk manner, which has further led to the DDoS attack, distributed denial of service attack. So the threat intelligence associates those IP address with a kind of hacktivist group. We all have studied about hacktivist. I believe you all are aware of it. So by linking the two source of intelligence, you can identify the goals and the tactics which are associated with that particular group, and further various controls can be used to mitigate further attacks. So most threat intelligence platforms, they use some sort of artificial intelligence to perform the correlation analysis, the threat data that we have, and the CTI data that which can be processed. So AI can help you to perform some correlation analysis. So this is basically where we use AI, artificial intelligence, to perform correlation between security intelligence and event monitoring and threat data. Now, we all are pretty aware of this field, AI and ML. AI क्या होता है? So this is a science of creating machine systems which can simulate, demonstrate a similar general intelligence capability to humans. So earlier types of AI में क्या आता है? Expert systems आते हैं. So this is something use if then rules to draw some inferences from a limited data set. है ना? एक लिमिटेड डेटा सेट प्रोवाइड कर दिया, इफ देन रूल अप्लाई कर दिया, इफ दिस इज हैपनिंग देन दिस, सो विच विल ड्रॉ सम इन्फरेंसेस फ्रॉम अ लिमिटेड डेटा सेट. सो जो लिमिटेड डेटा सेट हम उसे प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं, वी कैन रेफर टू इट एज नॉलेज बेस. ठीक है. सो machine learning, talking about ML, so this is a component of AI only. So this is a component of artificial intelligence that enables a machine to develop some strategies for solving a task given as a labeled data set where features have been manually identified but without further explicit instructions, where we are actually feeding the machine with some sort of data where we have a labeled data set where, and by labeled we mean that we have a structured data set where we have the features which have been manually identified by the human itself, and we are not giving further explicit instructions to it, but yes, we are developing some kind of strategy so that this machine can be trained enough to solve the task as per the label data set which has been fed to it. So there are various algorithms which parse the input data and then further develop the strategies for using the data. जो भी इनपुट डेटा उसको प्रोवाइड किया मशीन को, उसके अकॉर्डिंग वो कौन सी स्ट्रैटेजीज फर्दर बिल्ड कर सकते हैं सो दैट दे कैन फर्दर use that particular data. There could be identifying, such as identifying an object as a type, that could be a part of it, working out the best next move in the game, and so on. So unlike an expert system, this machine learning can modify the algorithm it uses to pass data and develop some kind of strategies. So that all depends upon what kind of data we are feeding to the machine. So it can make gradual improvements in the decision making process as we'll be training the machine more and more. So improvement could be observed in the decision making process. The structure which facilitates its learning process is referred to as artificial neural networks. As we have neurons which help us to think, brain से हम सारा काम लेते हैं. So in a similar manner, अगर हम artificial neural networks की बात कर रहे हैं, so this is a defined structure जो एक machine को learning process में help करता है. How machine is learning. So machine learning, artificial intelligence is happening with this neural network nodes. So ANN, artificial neural network. ठीक है? Just a second. So it's all about artificial neural networks where, there are nodes in the neural network that will be taking inputs ke behalf pe, then they will derive some outputs using some kind of complex feedback loops between the nodes. So if we talk about machine learning system, it has some objectives. There are error states as well, and it adjusts its neural network to reduce errors and optimize the objectives. जैसे जैसे मशीन को ट्रेन किया जाता है उसका एरर रेट जो है कम होता है, एक्यूरेसी इंप्रूव होती है, एंड दिस फर्दर हेल्प टू एडजस्ट द न्यूरल नेटवर्क of the machine in an artificial manner so that it can reduce the error and optimize some kind of objectives, uh, for this जिस भी सिस्टम के लिए मशीन लर्निंग सिस्टम हमने डिजाइन किया है. So in terms of threat intelligence, if we talk about this AI ML thing, so in threat intelligence, this AI-backed analysis might perform accurate correlation. अब अगर हम threat intelligence की बात करें, तो AI-backed analysis जो होगी, which is not being performed by us in as a human, है ना? तो जो कि पूरी automated form में है. So they will perform some accurate correlation that would take tens or hundreds of years to analyze time if the data were to be examined manually. तो वो कुछ seconds में ही सारी analysis perform कर सकता है, and that too in an accurate manner, जिसे अगर manually perform करने चले तो पता नहीं कितने ही साल लग जाएंगे. So depending upon the threat intelligence data. Is it clear? Then we have predictive analysis. Now predictive analysis, now identifying the signs of predictive का मतलब क्या हुआ? Prediction, on the basis of some prediction only, how we are performing the analysis. So identifying the signs of the past attack or the presence of the live attack tools on the network quickly is valuable. So how we are identifying the past attack signs, or how the live attack tools are being, identified. So one of the goals of using AI-backed threat intelligence is for the predictive analysis, or we can say threat forecasting, जिसके जिसके थ्रू जैसे वेदर फोरकास्टिंग होती है ना, तो वैसे threat forecasting can be performed with AI-backed threat intelligence. So this is something that the system can anticipate a particular type of attack, and possibly it can, the identity of the threat actor before the attack is fully realized. So for example, the system tag references to company, which is related to IP addresses, account names across a range of ingested data from dark web sources, web searches, various other ways, social media posts, phishing emails, and so on. So the analysis engine associates with the chatter with the IP addresses that it can correlate with unknown adversary groups. How it can further associate this chatter with IP addresses further that is being correlated with a known adversary group. So this gives the target advance warning that an attack is in planning stages and more time to prepare an effective defense. So with this predictive analysis, we'll be able to know like what kind of attack is there in the planning stages, like how this behavior is, identified as an attack, and we can get more time for the effective defense. So such concrete threat forecasting is not a proven capability of any commercial threat intelligence platform at the time of writing. So predictive analysis can inform risk assessment by giving more accurate, quantified measurements of the likelihood and impact of breach type events. So it's all about predictive analysis, where threat forecasting is the main feature assigned to it. So regarding this artificial intelligence and predictive analysis, are you all clear with this slide, guys? Please tell me. Yes, no, maybe. You all have access to the notes. You may revise the concepts, and yeah, we'll be starting with lesson 3 from Monday. And those who have joined yesterday, I hope you have revised lesson 1 as well as lesson 2A. So that's all for today, guys. If you have no doubt, no queries, then we are good to go. Now you all may leave the session and have a good day. Thank you, guys.